It's a lot of flags on the play in society today. I ain't even gonna say it's the culture. That ain't the culture. For first of all, everything ain't the culture, right? I said the other day, just because you like a clown, you know what I mean? If you bring a clown to your birthday party, right, entertain your kids or something, and you love the way that they, performed, they made the kids laugh, all of that. It don't mean afterwards you go put on a clown suit. But I feel like we live in a day and time where people let people let entertainers influence them. You understand me? But entertainers' jobs are to entertain you, right? It's not supposed to influence you, right? But now there's a thin line between entertainers and influence and being influential, right? It's the same thing. Uh and so we at this point in time where you have to be able to know the difference. It's like the big red boots. Entertainers wear that, and I'm not mad at no entertainer for wearing that because they an entertainer. So their job is to entertain, right? So if a clown wears a red nose, I'm not mad at a clown for wearing red nose, clown paint, clown hat, yellow big shoes, none of that. Dancing around looking stupid and silly. He's getting paid to do that. That's his profession, that's his career, that's his job. Now when you do it for free and you pay to do it, now you're being a clown for free. It's completely different. It's completely different, right? Now, I did not know Childish Gambino. My brother was telling me that Childish Gambino came out as bi. So now it makes sense, all right? So, that's different. I didn't know he was switch hitting like that. So I didn't know. I just thought the brother may have been a little flamboyant and feminine. So it's different. But you got to understand, man, this culture, and everybody tries to come up with their argument. Shout out to Oasis in the building. Somebody tried to come up with the argument, what about the 70s? And somebody had the audacity to mention Prince as if Prince was a shining example. As if Prince was out here ass chapping and flapping in the wind. Prince was all kind of flags on the play. He was all kind of flags on the play. But sometimes we let entertainers get away with clown shit, right? That's like seeing two heterosexual men kiss each other in the mouth and they say, what about Bird and Baby? Flags on the play. Flag on the play. Bird and Baby was tripping. Flag on the play. You understand me? It was a major flag on the play. So y'all examples ain't serving, right? And in the 70s, let me give y'all some games. So there was psychological operations happening on the whole society. And black people got caught up in it as well. See, in the 60s, there was an operation where Afrocentricism was at its all-time high. People wearing kente cloths. The whole movement was politicized, right? It wasn't enough jobs. There was issues going on. And so, therefore, black people took on a more militant stride. You have to remember there was a lot of veterans, and they was bringing a lot of that black militancy there as well. Then you have movements like the Nation of Islam and other movements that was radicalized during that time. You understand me? And had a whole lot of influence in the culture. And America was scared of that. So there's literally documentaries on this to where what did they do? So you start to see fashion switch up. Fashion switched up in the 70s, right? At the same time, psychedelics was happening. At the same time, government had programs that was in the newspaper, MK Ultra programs, to be able to control, for mind control. This is what was going on just normally. They was doing experiments on drugs and doing drugs on people, and they was doing mind control through TV and playing messages backwards and all sort of different stuff. So in the 70s was not a great example of black men. I just want to say, and you have to know that in the 70s was a high time of pimping as well. So a lot of these cats, that's when you had the big switch and change, when you had like the Dolomite characters, and all of the blaxploitation films and the films that came about, pimping and things of that nature. That changed the culture. So it went from this militancy to this flamboyant pimp energy, right? And then you had, the revolutions of psychedelics, right? But that kind of backfired on the government because people couldn't. It was harder to control the people because they was like wavy, man. So 70s is like the era that we're going through now. It was the era where things were getting too radicalized, right? Too charged up, too politicized, too Afrocentric, too conscious. And then what they do, they bring in the drugs, European fashion, right? And they create these revolutionary waves and changes. So 70s is not a good era to look back. Them brothers was tripping. So when you go back and you go look at what Unks and Pops was doing, it's the equivalence of what brothers and them doing today. So that argument to me is de facto. It don't actually hold up anything. You know, it don't hold up anything. So the moment that you point to 70s, you're pointing to exactly, you know, the paradigm shift when we stopped being militant, right? When we stopped being on Black family time and we was building. Like the 70s was not our greatest era. Let's just be honest. And when you go look at fashion throughout time in the 70s, like I said, you know, it became about individualism, flash of colors and pop. But that was a whole European wave of identity crisis that the culture in the world was going through in America, right? So what happened in the 80s, you know, there was a little fight against that. But and you can kind of follow hip hop towards that as well. If you go follow hip hop, you know, going from the 80s of the crack era, right? Because we went for just, you know, doing a little weed and some psychedelics into hard crack. Then that's where you see things start to spiral even worse. And then you get into, because that was the 70s, they were still masculine brothers, but they're being influenced in a more effeminate manner. Then you get to the 90s where it was hyper masculinity, right? And so everything associated in the era of hyper masculinity was then associated with being a man, right? So, you know, that's where you get gangster rap from, because in the era of the 80s, it was a fight against coming back into some consciousness, right? Speaking truth, going against the system. So then hyper masculinity came. Instead of going against the system, we went against each other. You understand me? And then we get back into the 2000s of the internet era, and now we back into the era of femination, right? So you got to understand that sometimes when you point to the past, you're actually providing proof, right? Not a counter argument to what I'm saying. You understand me? So you just got to understand that. So when I hear y'all talk about the 70s and Prince and Rick James, motherfucker talking about, what about Rick James? Rick James was a cokehead that was wilding and tripping. He probably couldn't even tell you about his exploits or what happened. Them brothers in the 70s was doing some weird, wild shit. Let's just be honest. I'm just saying. They was doing some weird, wild vibes, man. Because they were supposed to be going against the man, you see? But then they started to make these films of those who were radical in the 60s were started to be made fun of in the films in the 70s. So they started to see as these brothers going against the man, right? And so what did they do? Right? They sexualized the movement and the revolution at that time, right? So you get over exploitation and over sexualization of the 70s, right? So, you know, that's when it started being made fun of. Consciousness started being made fun of. The militant brothers started to be made fun of, even though these were the pillars in the community that were holding it down the whole entire time, right? So, and even to the point where when you have, what's the brother? He was, his name, man. He was a poet, but he was revolutionary, but he was homosexual, but he still presented in a masculine manner because he said that he was black first. I can't think of his name. It's escaping me. Somebody, y'all tell me, in the comments. See, and what you have to understand is that was a completely different eras that we were dealing with, man. Now we at this point where people have completely lost, you know, their identity, right? I seen a podcast that I was on, and they was trying to make fun, and they were saying this guy walked up to him that looked like he listened to 19 Keys, and they were saying he's Hotep, and I'm like, yo, y'all, you got to understand that these are psyops to make fun of any level of consciousness and associated with negative connotation. James Baldwin, thank you. Right? But James Baldwin said that he was black first, so it was even different. But you got to understand that these are psyops that they put on. These are not your original thoughts. Right? I can give y'all so much game that'll blow some of you all mind. And what you think is, people think that they're free. Oh, let people express themselves freedom. That's not freedom. That's mind control. I can show you the breakdown of when, like, Sigmund Freud and his family were doing experiments on the larger vast society to sell products. And as they were doing experiments on these products, one experiment they did was to figure out if they can get women to start smoking cigarettes, because cigarettes was seen as a male thing, right? It was seen as sort of like a male, sexual dominant thing. Like mostly only men had smoked cigarettes. So they wanted to figure out if they can get women to smoke, because they realized that they was missing out on half of their consumer base, right? So they ran some experiments in the public, right, where they hired these models. They had these women have them in their garments. They had it at this different place, and they put everybody on cue, and they created this fake, basically like protest, right? And they put it in a newspaper, and women looked and associated the feeling of smoking, right, with like power and empowerment and rebellion. And so then women started smoking cigarettes, and that's how they started to get their consumer base of women to smoke, right? And so women did not know that. They didn't know that the capitalists at the top were just trying to figure out how to increase their consumer base by feeding you different feelings of desires and making you believe that, your feelings of freedom and rights was this fight, and it had anything to do with you gaining more willpower and more expression, when really it was all about them lining up their pockets. And so, I'm going to do a whole high-level conversation breakdown on this, because you really have to understand. There's a great association with the rise of body augmentation with filters, with social media, right? And that women are no longer dressing for the male gaze, they're dressing for the female gaze. But these females are in circles of insecurity. So women go get the lips, the big old lips, right? Not because a man wants to kiss those lips, because a man look at them lips and they just up all the time. First they were doing the duck lip poses. Now they got the stuck duck lips, the stuck ducks. You understand me? And they go get but what I'm saying is this, it has to stop at some point in time, because we've gotten to a point where, people don't look in the mirror and love themselves anymore. People don't look in the mirror. We think we have to go so far beyond what we are and what our ancestors were to find ourselves. So that's when we do things like, showing cleavage in the suit and a halter top mixed with with the back out like a bathing suit, but then it's a one piece. Like, you just get confused. Don't even know what to do. Don't even know what's going on no more. So at this point, people are losing themselves in the race to try to find themselves. But what is it really doing? You always got to look at who benefits from it. Who benefits from it? Who benefits from it? That's the only question I want you to understand. Who benefits? So there's somebody that's getting laced and paid, right? The new wave of women consumers are lining up the pockets of corporations. And so it's pushed as women empowerment, right? Because they realize that women are buying more luxury goods. Women have now, for the first time in the history of the planet Earth, have become greater binge drinkers than men. You have to understand the correlations of that. It's the same thing as when women became the new smokers. They just got their other side of their consumer base. It has nothing to do with you actually gaining freedoms. You have been duped, bamboozled, hoodwinked. You know what I'm saying? So, once you realize these things, and you can realize, yes, social engineering, crowd control, mind control, right? Then you realize the things that you're doing. It's not that you don't want a man. It's that you are becoming a man. It's not that you're becoming, they guise it as independence, but the things that men used to buy, travel, do, those are now the new wave of women consumers. It had nothing to do with your freedoms. Everything to do with the fact that, damn, if women are not working more, we can't tax them. So let's educate them, get them jobs, and let them become the new base, because that's how we get more money. Because there's a whole base of society that we're not even getting money off of. They're just in the house. So no, let's put them into the workforce, but we can't just do it. We have to make this a feeling of empowerment. So they never go from things from a logical standpoint. And you all can go study this if you care. If you don't care, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? The live ain't all over the place. This live is actually really one thing, and it's about the mind control and how we arrive to what we think is an expression of freedom, which is a manipulation of our emotions. That's what it's about. And how this always benefits, top tier capitalism. It has nothing to do with what you think is free will. Because I study the comments. I study the sections of how you reply. And most people reply with answers that didn't originate from them. These are corporate sponsored answers. Just let people live. You didn't come up with that. There's no thought in that. You heard somebody else said it, so you said it. Yeah, listen now. Somebody said Cass is buying hairlines. Cass is buying wigs and purses. Like, purse sales slowed down. Now men are buying the purses. Like, luxury got to be at the all-time high, because at first Cass was just buying women the purses, and only so many. Now women buying their own purses, plus the men are buying themselves purses. So that's why LVMH, right? The owner of LVMH was the richest man in the world. His consumer base has grown. Come on, man. Come on, talk to me, man. Y'all know this is true. Y'all know this is true. Y'all know what's going on. You have to stop and think sometime that it has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with, freedoms. It have nothing to do with expression and all of that. It has everything to do with money. It's always money. It's always power. You understand me? He said, no offense intended, but I've heard almost everything you stated by men from 70-year-old father's generation and my 50-year-old brother's generation. Well, now you're hearing it from my generation, okay? So I don't know if you meant that as, yes, Edward Burnett. I don't know if you meant that as a slight or a diss, but that's a good thing. If men in the 70s are saying it, men in the 50s saying it, and now men now are saying it, maybe you should listen. At some point in time, you should start listening. Maybe. You know what I'm saying? I don't get people. There's consistency in the message. Unless you consider your grandparent, your grandfather and grandbrother to be terrible men and me to be terrible, but there's a reason you here listening. So listen. The people that don't love you, that don't care about you and want to capitalize off you, they gonna tell you different. So you have to understand, insecurity creates new consumers. It's a big base. Some of y'all telling yourselves and y'all don't even be knowing. You know what I'm talking about? So, I'll be lighthearted in my spirit, because I'm not talking about the brother when he wear it. That's not a problem. But when things happen in public, I was taught, check things in public. When things happen in private, check them in private. So anytime that we put out, especially like red carpet things, what is that for? These are public events, not private events. The public events are to influence the masses on new styles, new culture, new ideas. That's what they're for. So therefore, we are supposed to critique the influence, right, of the higher, larger society, of popular culture. Otherwise, you allow those who have the biggest bag and biggest control, and you want to know who is behind it. Look at the sponsors of the events. Look at the media of the events. That's who is the one sponsoring the message and who benefits from it. It's very simple. It's not that hard when you do a little bit of research. So for me, it's very easy, and all I just say is, okay, well, they go influence, I'm going to influence. So I got to give you some counter perspective, because, the most dangerous saying is just let people do whatever they want. I think that's the devil saying. That ain't God's. That's the devil saying. That ain't God saying. Do good. You know what I'm saying? Like let's a teacher is not just go walk into a classroom and give kids the book and say, y'all do whatever you want to. No, what they trying to teach them is to do things the right way. I would rather you get to a point, I would rather you get to a point where you're first confident, you're secure, and you're free. And I'm not talking about the type of freedom that they sell, because that's not real freedom. Because when you look at people before they get into these industries and after, you notice a huge shift and change. That's not who you are. That's who you sold yourself out to become. Right? That's how you were bought into that. Why you look so different. You would have never became any of those things if you weren't influenced by the environment that you are now commanded into. And the most impressionable of our society is children. So you rob children the ability to think for self when you influence them at a young age to do things, right? They never know what freedom is. Somebody said, how you feel about men's ankles? I'm not really here to critique everything about a man's fashion style. That's not my job, to be honest with you. I'm not a fashion critique like that. Sometimes when I see things in the news, I might want to say something about it because I think it opens it up for a larger conversation. But that's not really my job to be out here critiquing ankles and stuff. I ain't got time to be critiquing ankles. You know what I'm saying? I'm not on ankle patrol like that. Like that's not my job. I'm sorry. Y'all got to find somebody else to do that. You know what I'm saying? We not doing that. There's a lot of people who can dress, a lot of people who can't dress. I'm going to let them do their thing, But sometimes I feel like when it's a viral moment, we can teach on it. That's all, So a lot of y'all can't dress. I'm not out here, picking up every picture and out here critiquing it. The way I do, I lead by example. Y'all see me, man. I get flyered in a bird's ass, and I step outside and I show you how to put it together. It's militant regal over here. Matter of fact, when y'all show up to the tour, whether you're showing up in Oakland on the 23rd, me and Dame Dash, make sure you show up fly. Make sure you dress to impress, like you going out. Don't be coming in there all bummy and stuff. Like, show up. What's this the highest level? Like, when I do my tours coming out in May, I want everybody to show up. Like, look good. Look like you going to heaven. Like, you going to meet a person that's going to change your life. Like, you stepping into a historical experience. We want high-level nation. We want a high-level society. You understand me? We want everybody to feel that energy. We don't want you stepping out looking crazy. And I ain't saying you got to turn this into a fashion contest, but I mean, like, show up presentable, like, represent your highest self. That's what I want to see. When you show up as your highest self. That's the dress code. But I'm going to tell you one thing that is banned from all our shows. And that's that fit that Donald Glover had on. You can't show up in that. We give you refunding your ticket. If you show up in a suit with the back out, you getting a refund. We got to turn you around at the door. I'm going to have to tell all security at all of the shows, that brother that got the cleavage and he got the spinal out, he got to go back. Send him back. Turn him around. Tell him go. I'm going to have to put that on the flyer. It's not part of the dress code. All backs and men's suits have to be covered. Full backing. I don't want to see your spine. I don't want to see it. Put your back up. So, y'all think I'm playing? I'm serious. Show up as your best self, not your less self. You know what I'm talking about? So listen, man, I'm having a good day. I'm out here in New York. I had to make a last minute trip because we got to shoot some high levels. We got a lot of things to do, man. I'm not really here to, I make it hard for myself because I be speaking truth. Y'all be like, how Keys get to move, how he move, he be speaking. Listen, man, shh, it let me in the door. I got to be the spook who sat beside the door, but I got to be a little louder than the spook, that's all. Yeah, at every show you got to have full backing, no cleavage out. Yeah, I'm talking to the men. I ain't patrolling the women and stuff. No cleavage out for the men. That's not what my shows is about. Okay? Cover up. Fellas. You know? I'm just saying, I'm talking to the fellas here. Ladies, y'all come show up looking good, smelling good. Fellas, make sure you got your smell good on operation. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to put out a manual. You know, I'm going to have to put out the manual of what you should do before you even come there. Get a little meditation in. Spritz you some of that. I'm going to give you some suggestions, maybe for some colognes, maybe some black-owned ones. I know some non-black-owned ones that's pretty good, too. I ain't going to lie. You know? Make sure everybody's showing up to their highest level, so when you meet somebody, it might be your future wife or future business partner. You smelling good, you looking good. You know, you hitting people, what's up, beloved? How we doing today? You know, make sure your energy right. It's not too loud, it's not too crazy. You know, we got to give you some rules of networking and how you supposed to talk to each other. You dig? It got to be different. It got to be different when you walk in a room. Like, you know, all your energy got to be on point. You know, but don't be doing too much. Don't be whole extra. Just be on chill time, because we building. You feel me? I'm dead. I'm super serious. You know, I want to see everybody at their highest level. Because some people, I ain't going to lie, be doing too much. I talked to this brother, and this is not a joke. Before you come, you got to brush your teeth. This brother was telling me how he changed my life, and the whole time, you know, the whole time his breath, you know, it traumatized me. He changed my life too. It was traumatizing. So make sure before you come, the hygiene is correct. You know? If you ain't coming with a brand new fit on, make sure, you know, you go to the cleaners first. Make sure it's pressed. You know? Energy is right. Don't come there if you just argue with your wife or your girlfriend and you coming in there with that kind of energy. You just argue with your husband or boy. Nah. Your energy got to be right, stepping into the building. You know? Go meditate a little bit. You're stressed at your job. Stop. We go, you know, the information, like the experience. This is an experience when you walk in. So I'm going to tell this to everybody, so everybody comes in, and when you walk in, it should feel like Wakanda in there. Like, oh my God. I love everything that was saying on stage, and even better than that, the experience of the people around me. Everybody came with amazing energy. Everybody came with amazing energy. You know, don't come with no stale energy. Yeah, no, I'm serious. We're going to have notebooks at the beginning of the show, so everybody be able to bring buy a notebook before we're going to have special high-level conversation tour merchandise, so you can get that at the beginning of the show. And, so you can take notes and everything, because I want to make sure you remember everything, because I know people's memories be bad. People smoke 10 blunts a day, so the memory they don't even remember what I'm talking about right now. Like, so some people smoking weed right now, high as hell, just laughed off that joke, almost choked and died. So, you know, memory don't be the best. So we want to make sure you write everything down. You know? So we're going to have a good time, because only good-looking people coming out to the show, so no ugly people allowed. You know? And that's another rule. If you ugly, stay home. You know, I don't make up these rules. I'm just the one I'm just the messenger here. And I don't mean like ugly in a sense like, you know, beauty standards. I'm talking about your spirit. You feel me? You got to come there with good energy. Got to be beautiful. When you walk in a room, you got to exude that beauty and that energy. You know? President Mugabe, he said that, don't be talking to me about inner beauty, because we don't walk around with x-rays. Now, I'm not as cold as President Mugabe. You know, I want to see you with your inner beauty, because I got an x-ray. I can see right through you. So everybody come into the audience, when you see other people, you greet them. It should be the first time, you know, it should be a different type of people that come in. Like, damn, man, people normally don't even say hi to me. Everybody walking in there and they're greeting, the energy is right. You know, it's going to be good connections. Start high. Like, I want you to walk into this atmosphere like, man, I really just experienced what it was like to be in heaven for a second. You probably not even going to want to leave. We go kick you out for sure, but you might not want to leave. You know? It's going to be amazing. Man, yeah, no, it's going to be beautiful. So we got a lot of things prepared. We plan on having a lot of special guests that come to these shows. It's gonna be a lot of special features and things of that nature. It's gonna be amazing. Matter of fact, I should tell y'all, I don't have my number here. Anybody know my number down there, the 201? I just got a new one. I would tell y'all to text it, but the link in the bio. The tour will be up soon. So the tour is not sold out. We haven't even started, though. It's only 2 dates available right now. That's Toronto. Toronto most likely is going to be sold out by tomorrow. So good luck on that one. I think Toronto should be sold out by tomorrow. The second day, Toronto. The first day sold out. The second day is going to be sold out. So we have to do back-to-back. This is the first time anything like this has ever happened when we're doing back-to-back. Oakland, I know my brother, him 500, say he go be there. Dame Dash go be there. And a couple of other guests go be in the Oakland Dangerous Solutions. I just left my brother Dame Dash earlier today. That's going to be amazing. We got a lot. We got a L.A. on date. We have a New York date in the building. We have L.A., New York, Boston, Philly. We got a few Texas, so like Houston, Dallas. They want to put San Antonio on the map, but I'm not sure. I never been to San Antonio, so I got to think about that one. We don't have an Atlanta date yet, so we still contemplating on what we want to do in Atlanta, even though it's a big market for me. So, it's a lot. It's like 13, 14 cities right now, so it's going to be amazing. Santa Marta, Colombia. Check the cost of living to contribute to me. Okay, that's what's up. Yes, we will have merchandise at the Oakland event. You can also, though, so for those who don't know, you can get a live stream of the Oakland event as well. That one going to be legendary. You're not going to be able to see it unless you get the live stream. The live stream is going to be amazing because also we have VIP packages where you go get, me and Dame Dash are going to be a VIP mixture afterwards. And then we're doing a 2 live, mentor calls. You understand me? So you can get direct VIP access to me and Dame Dash, 2 Zoom calls with us together. That's going to be powerful. Link in the bio. So if you ain't got your Oakland, if you're in the Bay Area, even if you're in LA, come to the Bay. You go get on JetX, or you go hop on a plane, that's just an hour, or you go take a road trip, that's 4 hours. Pull up, March 23rd. And each one of my tour dates, it's a lecture series as well. So each one is going to be different. So even if you want to come to multiple dates, get multiple tickets, I'm fine with that as well. Because everyone is going to be different. So each one is a different experience. But this is a revolution. This is a movement. It's momentous. This is like if your grandparents had and can tell you about the time when they went to go see Malcolm, and went to go see Martin, went to go see any one of the leaders, in the past, or any one of our ancestors, rather, they wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world. So some things don't come around twice. So it's going to be beautiful.